How can you bona? You go for unzivise wetsahala wetsa wena. Re kgona ho bona hore o le bokae.
Just indicate to me where you are. Yes, sir.
You go for on dress on the guy. I wasn't there. Yes, sir.
No.
Yeah, there I am, Yosha.
Can you just point, please, so that we make certain?
You can
point on the TV, please.
No.
Is that you, sir? Stop, Mr. Baba. What are you doing now, sir?
I was calming Mr. Ndlozi down, Yosha.
Confirm. Why, stop, Mr. Baba, why are you putting your hands on accused number 2, Mr. Ndlozi?
He was angry, Yosha. So I was reprimanding him.
What were you, when you say you are reprimanding him, are you saying something to him, or are you just using your body? Explain reprimanding to me, please.
How do you know I said, don't be angry, go back to the vehicle.
Continue. Just go back, please, Mr. Papa. Just move back before it takes him away. It's fine, leave it, ma. Leave it. There you are. Okay, play. Stop. What is Mr. Ndlozi doing there to you?
Ndlozi ayenza kuwena manje.
Kamkhana halifile kade. Unampusha nje na kile kama stopa. Unabatoka kasepeleka.
Your worship, the way he was angry, he was pushing me, your worship. He was trying to go to the other side, so I was stopping him.
If you say other side, what are you talking about? What side are you talking about?
How
Where?
never thought I can shakurile ni oraure.
Unabatoka kansakurile na kasepeleka.
Your worship, I'm saying he was trying to come on this side.
What side, sir? Point to me, where is he trying to go?
No, he was trying to point to come this side. So I was in between that every time.
He was trying to move forward. Are you saying forward?
This side. Yeah, this side. He wanted to come this side.
Just for record purpose, what the witness have shown on the video screen, that he is trying to go over to Delano Fenter's side in this regard. Is the observation by court correct, state and defense?
Confirmed, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Your Worship. Continue, Mr. Rama. Is that correct, sir? The video footage that you observed, that is what happened.
Do you understand footage right? Do you understand that is what has transpired, Your Worship.
Okay, thank you. You can go back, sir. Statement, okay? Your statement that you made.
So le mong hadi ke tlo fa statement sa hao tokomane ena nana ke kopa o nshebele yona.
Worship, I know the court doesn't have the original BS. If I'm not sure if my colleague is objecting, if I just hand the copies of the court, might just be able to proceed or...
Your Worship, I think it's in the interest of justice. I was going to refer to it anyway, so I believe that Your Worship should have a copy. And that's unusual for the prosecution to do this without an objection to it, seeing it because I intend to use it in the issue.
So there's no objection for the use. The court will then allow the said statement to be used by consent of the parties. And after the statement
So I
is,
don't know if that's a clear copy, is that clear? Because we've got a clear
it
copy.
is not very clear, but I will manage. That's fine.
This is clearer.
No, it's fine. Advocate, it's fine. The court will manage.
It's not more.
It's funny we should begin with this one.
That's fine.
We can just swap. Just clearer. So these are clear. I can see from there. Your worship, this seems to be a copy of the copy.
Thank you very much, Advocate.
Yeah, it says it's clear.
Yeah, it is better. As indicated, the court will make a ruling after both parties have dealt with the statement, then the court will make a ruling with regards to the use of the statement.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, you've looked at the statement, am I correct? Now,
O shebile tokomane eo akere?
Ke shebe.
Yes, Your Worship, I am.
is that your statement, sir?
Ke sona statement sa hao se monghadi.
Ke so.
That is correct, Your Worship.
Is that your signature reflecting on the second page, sir?
Ke wena a ileng a tekena mane leqhepeng la ho qetela, sheba leqhepeng la ho qetela. That's myself, Your Worship.
Did you sign the statement?
O ile wa se tekena.
Ke ka sa.
That is correct, Sir, Your Worship.
Did you write the statement yourself?
O la ngola statement sena ka bo wena.
Missing nas.
No, Your Worship, I did not write it on my own.
Who wrote it? Who wrote the statement?
Ke mang a ngotseng statement sa hao?
Ke le bonus.
It was a police officer, Your Worship, the investigating officer.
Did you, after the statement was written down, did you read your statement?
Ka morao statement sa hao se ngolo, o le wa se bala?
Ke ka sa.
Yes, Your Worship, I read it.
Were you satisfied with the content of the statement?
O ne o kgotsofetse ka se ngotsweng moo?
Ke kgotsofetse.
Yes, Your Worship.
When you were writing, or when the or someone, the police officer writing the statement, did you speak the
Ngola statement sa hao. Le ne le bua puo e le nngwe.
Yeah, now I come up speak.
I was speaking Sepedi.
correct?
Jwale o dumelana le nna hore o kgotsofetse ka dintho tseo
I'm going to go to
paragraph ya bobedi. Leqhepeng la pele.
at the front. I was posted there at the Forward Memorial Park to control traffic and parking duties. Is that correct?
Ka letsatsi la di 14 tsa April 2018, ka bo 16 hours tapama ke ne ke le mane Memorial Park for 4 ways mehe ke ne ke laola sephethephethe. That is correct, so your worship.
The senior interpreter is just indicating that maybe the interpreter in this statement as well, Your Worship. So it's easier for her as well. No, Your Worship, I'm sorry.
We have an extra.
Do you have? Thank you. I'm going to read. I confirm that the vehicles that were having escorts. I confirm that the vehicles that were having escorts were directed straight to the VIP parking, including the Black Vito, which was transporting the EFF members.
Jwale he, ke a dumela hore dikoloi kaofela tse ileng hore di ne di tsamaya ka batho ba ileng hore ba bohlokwa di ne di pakuwe plekeng e itseng ho kenyeletsa le Vito e ntsho e neng e tsamaisa di-membera tsa sehlopha sa EFF. That is correct, so your worship.
Now my question to you is, when you testified now to the court, you said I stopped the Vito, I proceeded to the driver's side.
Now we understand legal boundaries. If my learned friend wants to cross-examine him on his statement or says it's incorrect, then she must declare him hostile before she does so. I don't accept what's going on now, Your Worship. This is wrong.
Thank you.
May I reply, Your Worship?
Yes, you may.
Your Worship, I am not cross-examining Your Worship. I'm asking Your Worship, if my colleague waited for me to ask the question, I would have asked the question to clarify as to what he's saying now and what he's saying in the statement, Your Worship. It is clarity, Your Worship. This is what he testified, and this is what is in his statement.
It's not clarity, Your Worship. There are two different versions. It's definitely not clarity. This version, Your Worship, has heard now, says, and it's crucial, I confirm that the vehicles that were having escort were directed straight to the VIP park, including the Black Vito, which was transporting the EFF members. In chief, Your Worship, he gave a different version. It's not clarifying, it's highlighting differences, which is not clarifying. And he's answered, he's already confirmed that this is the truth. What he said in his evidence in chief, led by my learned friend, Your Worship, was the following. He was asked, did this vehicle have escorts? Yes, that is the reason why I stopped. That is the reason why I stopped it. So in the one version, it's got escorts, and the other one it hasn't. And then he's asked here. So Your Worship will see here that on this version here, he doesn't stop the vehicle. In his evidence in chief, he stopped the vehicle. They're totally different, Your Worship. I can go step by step. It's not clarification. And she was asked now, important, Your Worship, do you confirm the content of your statement? He said yes. He says correct, sir. So you can't have it both ways. My learned friend cannot proceed like this, Your Worship, and I'll object to it.
Thank you, Ms. Hart.
Your Worship, I disagree with my colleague, Your Worship. Your Worship, is versus Rene versus Gavin, Your Worship, with regards to statements. It is there for the prosecutors, Your Worship, to know which charges to put, Your Worship. I'm asking this witness, I agree what my colleague, what the witness said, Your Worship, and what is in the statement. I am now asking as to the witness as to why he did not mention this in his statement. Why? That he stopped the vehicle. That is my question, Your Worship. And I believe, Your Worship, I have a right to this answer, this question, Your Worship. And Your Worship, I am still examining this witness. I do not believe that this witness is to be declared a hostile witness. I am asking you to still my case in order for this witness to explain why he said in evidence in chief and why he said in his statement.
Thank you. I believe there's no further addresses on this issue, so the court will make a ruling with regards to such. I am in agreement with the defense. This demands to cross-examine of your own witness. If you intend to declare your witness hostile, then you need to do so. However, then the question is not allowed. You may proceed, Ms. Hart.
This is the court, Your Worship. The state respects the court's ruling, Your Worship. So is there anything that I might not have asked you that happened on the 14th of April 2018?
Monghadi, e ka ba ho na le se etsahetseng ka lona letsatsi leo la di 14 tsa April 2018 e leng hore ha ke a o botsa ka yona? I do not understand your question.
Is there anything that might have happened that you have not informed the court or that I might not have asked you?
E ka ba ho na le ntho e etsahetseng o leng hore wena ha wa e jwetsa lekgotla?
Le police la le ke bona statement ke botsitse ka re ha ke godi ha ke gore ke motse tlhogoleng mara tse ding ke tla di araba ka court.
Your Worship, I even explained to the police officer that was taking my statement that I have written some of the aspects And the other aspects, I'm going to explain them when I get to court.
This is the court, Your Worship. No complications.
Thank you, Ms. Hart. Advocate Orders, cross-examination.
Thank you, sir. Staff Sergeant, you have 33 years experience, is that correct?
Monghadi, o na le dilemo tse 33 o sebetsa. I get that is correct, so Your Worship.
And in those 33 years, were you involved in other funerals, state funerals?
Jwale, ha o ntse o sebetsa tshebetsong ya hao, ho na le mane mo ileng hore o kile wa sebetsa mo ho na le phuphu ya setjhaba. Many times, Your Worship.
So you knew the protocol of what happens when there's a funeral, and the military police are involved in directing people, is that correct?
O ne o tseba hantle tsamaiso e leng hore e a etsuwa ha ho na le diphitlho tse tjena e leng hore ho na le masole a keneletseng ka hare le batho ba bang hape ba bohlokwa. That is correct, so Your Worship.
And when you worked at those funerals, did you work with Colonel Fenter?
Nako o ne o sebetsa diphuphu tsena na, o ne o sebetsa le Monghadi Venter? No, Your Worship. It was my first time of working with him.
From your answer now, it becomes apparent that you never knew Mr. Fenter before this day. Do you agree with me?
Ho tjho re ka mantswe a mang ha ke utlwa karabo ya hao o totobetse hore o ne o sa mo tsebe Monghadi Venter pele o letsatsi leo.
Inspector, that note to be cancelled. I am not going to allow the media to roam freely. It is distracting to the court. Let there be order, no notes to be submitted anywhere without the court's permission. The court was clear when the court made a ruling to allow the media into this courtroom, so that must all be respected in all regards. No roaming around of the media. If the court is in session, they remain seated. They are not allowed to move away from the cameras which they are involved. In the case that they do so, the court will prevent them from recording further.
Thank you, I didn't see that. I apologize. I was looking down. Thank you. Shall I repeat the question? From your previous answer, I take it that that was the first day that you were working with him, and by day, I'm including now, the date being 14 April 2018. Do you confirm that, sir?
Ha o soka o sebetsa le yena, o ne o qala ho sebetsa le yena ka letsatsi la di 14 tsa April 2018. That is correct, Your Worship.
And since that day, being 14 April 2018, have you ever seen Colonel Fenter again?
Pele ho letsatsi la di 14 April 2018, o no kile wa teana le yena Monghadi Venter? No, Your Worship.
Now, if you look at your statement, you'll see it doesn't mention Colonel Fenter once. Do you agree with me?
Surely, how o sheba statement sa hao? Ha o mo bitse ha nngwe fela Monghadi Venter. Where and where, Your Worship?
It doesn't. You can look as many times as you want, sir. You won't find Colonel Fenter's name in your statement, sir. Please look and confirm.
Ke kopa o shebe statement sa hao. Ho na le mo o ngotseng Monghadi Venter? No, Your Worship, there's no way we are threatening him.
Now, on the day in question, being 14 April 2018, were you formally introduced to Colonel Fenter?
Jwale pele ka letsatsi leno la di 14 tsa April 2018, o ile wa motsibiswa semmuso Monghadi Venter? Yes, Worship, I was introduced to him.
When did that happen?
Seno se ile sa etsahala neneng? It happened on the very same day, Your Worship, in the morning, on our arrival.
And you were told this is Colonel Fenter, and you introduced yourself to him, and he introduced himself to you. Is that correct?
O ile wa jwetsa hore enwa ke Monghadi Venter, ke Colonel Venter, mme he le wena wa itsebisa lebitso la hao.
Ha ra tsebisana re le babedi re shebane. Captain ana ntshwere ke ena la re jwetsa hore ana re posta mo gating a re hele group ka fela a re ga tlo seletsa le Colonel Venter ke ena tla ba le in charge mo gating then abatsamale ba bang antsa ba posta jwala.
Okay. It was not a one-on-one introduction in worship. There was a group of us, I'm talking about my colleagues, with the captain that on that particular day. He informed us that we are going to work with Mr. Venter, and then that's where we were posted, and then he took my other colleagues and proceeded somewhere to the other posts with the worship.
So you were introduced on one occasion, you were told as a group, this is Colonel Venter, we're going to be working together, or were you told this is Mr. Venter?
Ula jwetsa hore enwa ke monghadi Venter re tlo sebetsa le ena kapa o thule fela ke monghadi Venter.
A o itse ke Colonel Venter ona mo bitsa ka rank ya hae.
We were informed that it's Colonel Venter worship. He was introduced with his rank.
So there was no personal interaction between you and this Colonel Venter, it was just two groups meeting each other, do you agree?
So ha hona mane mo ilong hore wena le yena le ile la shebana la bua le le babedi. No, your worship.
When you say no, you agree with me, is that right?
Sorry, worship.
When you say no, it means you agree with me. There was no personal interaction. You're in agreement with what I'm putting to you. Do you agree? You agree with me, is what I'm saying.
O dumelana le nna ha ke re ho ne ho sna puisano mahareng a lona.
Ha re le mosebetsi re sebetsa fela ka distraction.
When we are at work, we're working through instructions, your worship.
I'm going to proceed from there. You worked on instructions. The point I'm making, sir, is when you made your statement, you never made any mention of the name Colonel Venter. Do you agree with me?
Shwele monghadi, ha no o etsa statement sa hao. Ha hona mane mo ilong hore o le wa bitsa lebitso monghadi Venter. Ho jwalo ke re.
Statement ya ke ho jwalo.
That is correct, sir, your worship.
At the time that you made your statement, did you remember that the man's name was Colonel Venter or not?
Jwale na ko no etsa statement sa hao o ile wa hopola hore monna enwa ke monghadi Venter.
Ha ke tse ke bua le investigator ke le ke mo hlalosetsa hore ke hlalositse ntho ngwe le yena a ngola.
Your worship, when I was talking to the investigating officer, I explained everything. He was just writing, your worship.
That's not my question. That's not an answer to my question. And to ask it again to give you one more opportunity, sir. At the time when you made your statement, did you remember that his name was Colonel Venter?
Na kwa o ne o etsa statement sa hao. O bua le leponesa le tshwereng molato. O ile wa hopola hore monna eno e re buang ka yena ke monghadi Venter.
Ntse ke hopola.
I still remember, your worship.
Why did you not mention him in your statement then?
Hobaneng jwale o sa ke wa kenya lebitso la hae mona statementeng?
Ha le ponesa ntse le mpotsa dipotso. Ha hona mala a mpotsa hore na ke mana le in charge ntho tse tshwanetse o mpotsa fela hore ho etsahetseng.
Your worship, when I was doing the statement, explaining to the police officer, he did not ask me who was in charge. He just asked me what had happened.
That doesn't answer the question. I'm going to repeat the question again, sir. Why did you not mention his name in your statement?
Monghadi, ke tlo botsa hape potso ena. Ke ka lebaka la eng o sa ke wa bua lebitso la monghadi Venter statementeng sa hao?
Okay, ntho ngwe le ngwe ke itse ho yena, ntho ngwe le ngwe ke tla e botswa ka court.
I said to him, everything will be asked at court.
Still doesn't answer, but I'm going to put a proposition to you that I can assure you I'm going to prove through your cross-examination. You didn't remember his name. Do you agree with me?
Jwale monghadi ke a o jwetsa hore o ne o sa hopole lebitso la hae.
I
remembered clearly, your worship, on that particular day.
I'm warning you, Staff Sergeant, in advance that you're not telling the truth on this, and I'm going to expose it before this court. Do you understand the challenge?
Monghadi, jwalo ka leponesa la molao kapa motho wa molao ke ho jwetsa hore ha o bue nnete mme seno ke tlo se tlaisa ka ga lekgotla la dinyewe. I am telling the truth, Your Worship.
For the court to decide. Now, this incident took place, the one that we saw in the video, on the 14th of April 2018. Do you confirm that?
Ketsahalo ena e etsahetse ka di 14 tsa April 2018. E ka be go jwalo? That is correct, sir, Your Worship.
You only made a statement more than a year later, on the 2nd of December 2019. Do you confirm that?
Jwale he o ile wa etsa statement sa hao ka mora ntwe ka etsang selemo e ne e le ka di 2 tsa December 2019. E ka be go jwalo? That is correct, so Your Worship.
So, just for record purposes, it was almost 16 months later that you were called upon to make a statement. You confirm that?
Jwale ka mora di kgwedi tse 16 o bitsitswe wa lo etsa statement. That is correct, so Your Worship.
Now, when you made this statement, were you shown the video to assist you to remember what had happened that day?
Jwale nako o ne o etsa statement sa hao e ka be o ile wa bapallwa tshwantshiso ena na ho etsetsa hore o kgone ho hopola gona ho etsa etseng?
Le ponisa le ne le tlile ke ena la ngopotsa ntho ngwe le ngwe.
The police officer who came is the one who reminded me of everything.
I don't know what you promised, Stosos. I'm going to ask the question again.
Okay.
Were you shown the video to remind you what had happened when you made your statement?
Ke batla hore o nkarabe hantle. Nako o etsa statement sa hao o ile wa bontshwa tshwantshiso ena hore o kgone ho hopola hore na ho etsahetse eng.
Video ke bone ha se ke le mona di office.
I only saw the video when I was at the offices.
I don't know what that means. I don't know if you're trying to be obstructive or you're trying to avoid the question. Were you shown the video at the time that you made the statement? Is the third time I'm asking the question.
Monghadi ha ke tsebe hore na o leka ho balehela putso ya ka kapa ho o leka ho etsa eng. Putso ya ka ke hore e ka be o ile wa bontshwa tshwantshiso ena nako o ne o etsa statement sa hao e ya kapa tjhe. No, Your Worship, I wasn't shown the video.
So you've told the court now that the police officer told you what had happened. Tell us what he explained to you.
Ore le polisa di le la ho hopotsa hore na ho etsahetseng a ke a go re qoqele hore na o itseng.
Ola re honna o batla go nka statement sa ka.
He said he wanted to take my statement.
Ka mo jwetsa hore ka gore ke incident efe.
I asked, the statement is regarding which incident?
Ka tla njwetsa hore ke a memorial ya ana re le difula ka Memorial Park.
He said it is something that occurred whilst we were at the Memorial Park during the funeral.
Mona re na le Colonel Fentere le maponisa ama.
Where we were with Colonel Fenter and the other police officers.
Ja ke mohlalosetsa ke re okay ha o tshwa jwale ke a hopola.
And then that is when I explained to him. I said, when you say that, now I remember.
How did you remember the dates on your own?
Jwale o hopotse jwang di date ka buena?
Le ponisa le investigating officer ke ana mfileng di date.
The investigating officer gave me the dates, Your Worship.
So he gave you the dates. Did he give you the names of the people involved?
E kaba o jwalo ka o fili di date. Ola a o jwetsa le batho ba ileng hore ba nkile karolo mono. Mabitso a bona.
Ola re o batla statement concerning Mr. Malema le Mr. Ndlozi.
He said he wanted a statement concerning Mr. Malema and Mr. Ndlozi.
And did he tell you the complainant is Colonel Fenter?
E kaba ola o jwetsa hore moqosi ke monghadi Fenter.
Ola njwetsa.
Yes, Worship, he informed me.
And then you proceeded to tell him what happened, is that correct?
Jwale ke mane mo ileng hore o le wa tswela pele wa mo hlalosetsa hore na o etsahetseng.
Ke ile ka mo hlalosetsa ka re tse le hore ha ke sa di hopola tse ding ke tla di bua ka court ha se ke botswa dipotso.
Yes, worship, I did. I even went further to say, if it happens that some I do not remember, then I will explain them at court.
When you said that you give an explanation in court, you were going to expand or give more detail on what was in your statement. Do you agree with me?
Jwale monghadi hana o re o tlo hlalosa tse ding ka hare ho lekgotla le dinyewe. Ho tjho hore o ne o tla fihla o name ka hare ho lekgotla la dinyewe. That is correct.
You weren't going to give a different version and say, well, the statement is lies, this is the truth. You're going to stay with the same version, is that correct?
O ne o tlo fana, o ne o tlo dula hodima taba ena o e ngotseng. Eseng o fane ka taba e nngwe e tswileng ka thoko. O re taba ena e statementeng ha se nnete, ena e tswileng ka thoko ke yona nnete.
Gore ntho statementeng ke buang ka court ntse le ntho e le nngwe.
What I have indicated in my statement and what I have said in court is the same thing, Your Worship.
That's again for the court to decide, but let's move forward. I want to put you wouldn't say in your statement the car was blue and then come to court and say, no, it wasn't blue, it was red. You would stick to your statement, is that correct?
I get how much statementing hore koloi e bolo o keke bo wa fitla ka re lekgotla la dinyewe o re e khubedu. That is correct, so Your Worship.
Now, even though you spoke different home languages, your statement was reduced to English. Do you agree with me?
Le hoja le ne le bua dipuo tse sa tshwaneng. Fela he statement is le sa qetella se ngolwa ka sejatlhapi. That is correct, so Your Worship.
And even though it's your constitutional right to choose any language you want when you testify, you understand and speak English well. We've seen in court. Do you agree with me?
Jwale monghadi le hoja o kgethile hore o bue Sesotho sa haeno o ntse o le tseba leleme lena la sejatlhapi ke utlwile mana o ntse o eme mane o bua. That is correct, so Your Worship.
And this statement was read to you for you to confirm before you took an oath that it was the truth. Do you agree with me?
Statement sena o ile wa se ballwa pele ha o ka tekena wanka lekano ya statement sena ho jwalo. That is correct, so Your Worship.
And even if you might want to give more detail, as you've explained, when you sat to the prosecution preparing here, you never told them the statement is false. Do you agree with me?
Na kwele nentse le buisana le motjhutjisi ha hona mohlang o kileng wa mo jwetsa hore statement sena se fosahetse. No, Your Worship, I've never said.
In fact, even when my learned friend started putting it to you, you confirmed the content of your statement. Do you agree with me? You said correct, sir.
Le hane a qala a o botsa ka sona. O ile wa se dumela wa re dintho kaofela tse ngotsweng mona ke dinnete. That is correct, so Your Worship.
And now if we just stand still at today's date and we work out that since you made your statement on the 2nd of December 2019, more than 2 years have transpired. Do you agree with me? We passed December 2021, we're now in April 2022. Do you agree?
O ikaba o dumellana le nna hore ha esale o entse statement sa hao dilemo tse pedi di se di fitile o entse jwang? Ho se ho fitile dilemo tse pedi o entse statement sa hao. That is correct, so Your Worship.
And it's a matter of logic, unless there's something wrong with you. When something happened yesterday, you remember it better than when it happened 10 years ago. Do you agree with me?
Hanto e etsahetse ka la maobane. O e hopola hantle ho feta ntho e etsahetseng dilemo tse 10 tse fetileng. Ho jwalo monghadi? That is correct, so Your Worship.
So as time moves on from an event, we forget certain details unless we've got a note to remind us. Do you agree with me?
Hanto e se e le nako e fetile. Re batla re e lebala. Re hloka se itseng hore se re hopotse yona. A ke re mongadi? That is correct, so Your Worship.
Now you told the court that you watched the video in the office. What office did you watch the video in?
Jwale o jwetsitse lekgotla la dinyewe hore wena tshwantshiso ena o e bone mane dikantorong o bua ka dikantoro tse feng?
Ha ne ke tla mona court.
When I came to court, Your Worship.
With the prosecutor.
Le motjhutjhisi. That is correct, so Your Worship.
So more recently you've watched the video to remind yourself what happened for details like what you were wearing on the day. Do you agree with me?
O ile wa sheba tshwantshiso ena na ho etsetsa hore e o hopotse hore na ho etsahetseng le hore na o ne o apere eng ka letsatsi leo.
Ne tse ke tseba hore ne ke apere hobane ke le mosebetsing.
Yes, Worship. I still remember as to what is it that I was wearing because I was on duty.
But this video will help you concerning what happened at the confrontation, right? By the entrance to Memorial Park. It won't remind you what you're doing outside in the street before the video captures you. Do you agree with me?
Video yan, kapa tshwantshiso yan. E o hopotsa se etsahetseng mane mabitleng, e seng se etsahetseng ka ntle ho jarete ya mabitleng.
E seng hopotsa ntho e etsahetseng ka letsatsi leno hobane nna ne ke le ka ntle mabitleng.
Yes, Worship, it reminds me of what happened within the yard of the cemetery. However, I was outside the cemetery at the gate.
Now in the statement, in the last paragraph, on the 2nd of December 2019, you took an oath under the following. It says in paragraph 5, I know and understand the contents of the statement. I do not have objection in taking the prescribed oath. I consider the prescribed oath to be binding in my conscience. You then signed beneath that oath. Do you agree with me?
Kari 2 December 2019. Paragrafung yani ya bohlano. O ile wa qetella o nka kano ore ha ke na bothata ba ho nka kano mme ke a tseba hore ho nka kano ho bofella letswalo la ka mme wa qetella o tekene ho jwalo.
Ho jwalo.
That is correct, so Your Worship.
And you're not young, you got, at that stage, you had 30 odd years experience. You knew the legal implications of taking an oath. Do you agree with me?
Ha ngwana ya monyane o motho ya moholo a bileng ana le dilemo tse itseng o sebetsa. O a tseba hore ho nka kano hore na ke ntho e bofellang ho loka. Correct, so Your Worship.
And just beneath your signature, we see that a Commissioner of Oaths went through the entire formal process of taking your oath. Do you agree with me? You'll see the stamp and the details there.
Jwale he ofisiri ya dikano ile ya qetella e etsa mosebetsi wa bona tlase mane. That is correct, so Your Worship.
And he asked you questions. The Commissioner said, do you confirm that you and acknowledge that you take an oath and that this is the truth and that you swear to the truth before this Commissioner of Oaths? And he then took your signature and signed. Do you agree with me?
Ule a unkisa kano ya hore o dumellana le se ngotsweng tokomaneng ena le hore o ikana hore tseno ke dinnete le hore ha ona bothata ba hore o ka nka kano. Re bua ka That is correct, so Your Worship.
And you've confirmed that whilst there might be more detail that comes to you from watching the video or thinking about it, this statement that's here is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Do you agree with me?
Hona le dintlha tse ding tse leng hore di a hlahella mane tshwantshisong. Fela wena o itse dintho tse mane ne ke dinnete, nnete fela, nnete e felletseng. Ho jwalo.
Ho jwalo.
That is correct, so Your Worship.
And you know when you take an oath, whether you talk orally, having taken an oath before the court, whether you write it down, it's got the same legal repercussions. Do you agree with me?
O dumelana le nna ha ke re ho nka kano ka hare ho lekgotla la dinyewe o bua le ho nka kano o ngola fatshe statementeng sa hao ke ntse e le ntho e lengwe ho ya ka molaotheo. That is correct, so Your Worship.
Return to your statement, sir. It says,
Ha re kgutlele statementeng sa hao monghadi.
I, Gilbert Molaleki Mapisa, state under oath in English. Is that correct?
Nna Gilbert Moleleki Mapisa ke nka kano ka leleme la sejatlhapi. Yes, Your Worship.
Right. When you testified today, you said your name's Molaleki Gilbert Mapisa. Which name comes first?
Jwale he monghadi ka jeno o itse o Moleleki Gilbert Mapisa. Mabitso ana a hao a le mabedi ke le feng le tlang pele?
Ke Moleleki.
It's Moleleki.
It's my first name, yes.
Moleleki, it's my first name.
Paragraph 1. I'm an adult male. Identity number 66022058900087. So far, do you confirm that that is in fact your identity number?
Ore o motho wa ntate mme he nomoro ya hao ya boitsebiso tshelela noto pedi noto hlano robedi robong noto robedi supa. That is correct, so Your Worship.
It said residing at number 28 Klivaki Street, 3 Rivers, Vereeniging. Do you confirm that that is your address?
Ore udula mani number 28 Kilbechi Strating Sakilbechi, Pottery River, Vereeniging. That is correct, so Your Worship.
Cell phone number 0648484420. You confirm that that was your cell phone number then?
Me nomoro ya hao ya mohala ke noto tshelela 4 robedi pedi noto. That is correct, so Your Worship.
And you said working at Johannesburg Military Police Lens. Was that your correct place of employment?
Jwale o sebeletsa mane Johannesburg Masoleng mane Lens. That is correct, so Your Worship.
You said as General Police Investigation Section Head. Was that your position at the time?
Ke yona he mokgahlolo wa hao o sebetsang ka tlase ho ona general ya maponesa ya ho batlisisa. Ke wena hloho ya teng. That is correct, so Your Worship.
Now, General Police Investigation Section Head doesn't ordinarily attend to funerals, do you agree with me?
Jwale he di generale tse batlisisang seponeseng ha di ke di ya diphupung e ka ba o dumelana le nna?
Ke dumelana le wena.
That is correct, so Your Worship.
So this was something extraordinary that you were doing on the day, do you agree with me?
Se leng hore o ne o se etsa ka letsatsi leno ke ntho e ikgethileng ke mosebetsi o ikgethileng.
Ke nnete.
That is correct, Your Worship.
And it was a Saturday, it was the weekend. Do you agree with me?
Mehe ene mafelong a beke e le ka Moqebelo. I agree with you, Your Worship.
So you knew this was some auspicious or special event, do you agree with me?
O ne o tseba he hore ena ke pleke e tlabeng e ikgethile kapa ke mosebetsi o ikgethileng.
Ke le ka tsebiso.
Yes, Worship, I was informed of such.
Whose funeral was it?
Ene e le phupu ya mang?
Ya mme Winnie.
Mrs. Winnie.
Mrs. Winnie Mandela. You agree with me?
Ora mme Winnie Mandela.
Winnie Tikitizela Mandela.
Winnie Tikitizela Mandela.
So you knew this was a special, auspicious event, being the funeral of Mrs. Winnie Mandela. Do you confirm that?
Can you repeat that again, Worship?
You knew this was a very special, auspicious event, being the funeral of Mrs. Winnie Mandela. Do you confirm?
O ne o tseba hore mosebetsi ona ke mosebetsi o ikgethileng mme ke phupu ya mme Winnie Mandela.
Ke nnete.
That is correct, so Your Worship.
And you knew that there were lots of dignitaries or VIPs or members of government coming that day. Do you agree with me?
O ne o tseba hore ho na le batho ba ikgethileng ba emong a hodimo ba ditulong tse hodimo mane molaong wa rona e ka bo jwalo.
Ke nnete ho jwalo.
That is correct, so Your Worship.
Now, that doesn't appear from your statement that this was Mrs. Winnie Mandela's funeral. That was the type of detail that you left out. Do you agree with me?
Jwale statement sa hao ha o ya ngola hore letsatsi leno ene e le phupu ya mme Winnie Mandela. Seno ha wa se ngola statement sa hao. A ke
Ke a dumela.
I agree with you, Your Worship.
Because you,
Sorry, I forgot to interrupt. I noticed it is 11 o'clock. It is tea time. Unless the parties do not wish to drink tea, then we may proceed. But I believe all other parties. Yes. Can I just get clarity? Do we resume at 11:15?
Yes, Worship.
Due to the matter is being an old matter, so whatever minute we have, we need to spend on discussion. The court does not need to be called. I will be at court at 11:15 as well. Mr. Mapisa, you still under oath. You are not allowed to discuss your evidence with anyone. Do you understand?
I must stay in the court.
O santse le ka tlasa kano ha wa dumelwa hore o ka bua le batho ba bang ka case ena. Ra o kgona ke reng tate.
Ke dula ka
Do
court.
not go too far. The court will start exactly at 11:15.
Re tlo qala ka 11:15. Re santse re nka kgefutso. Go tla ka
To accuse
11:15.
may stand. Thank you. Auditor.
Nkaya ka mo.
Ka tsela ka ntse sa ke moya hanyane. 11:15 thank you.
You were born to do this, and you are gifted money.
question, it's better if it's resolved
At this
sooner
stage.
rather than later. With your worship's permission, if you could do it now for the court, worship.
Yes, may be done so. The record must be replayed at that stage.
Three from 2019 states that accused number 1, Julius and Malema,
Forward.
and accused number 2, Mbuyiseni from Ndlozi, is in charge of the South Common today's date is the 7th of April.
Come around. Your worship, after some minutes, while I was standing there, I heard some noise, your worship, which was appearing from the back.
A little bit forward.
So there's a few minutes, so to be easy.
Continue.
Yes, please, please.
Delore, hake sheba kimukile kabona Mr. Malema le corona mufefe mabatu bafusha.
And then, your worship, after that is when I saw Mr. Malema. I saw the people pushing each other.
You said that is why I saw Mr. Malema and then you said pushing each other. So,
Ore, Mr. Malema, how does that work?
Oh, every issue sad.
Let me explain it clearly, your worship.
Ila hake sheba kibone Mr. Malema le Mr. Ndlozi.
Upon looking, your worship, I saw Mr. Malema and Mr. Ndlozi
Bafusha mtate fente.
pushing Mr. Senator.
Mara mumu na relate.
When we were at,
Kuna le batora na ta, kuna le batora ba dari uniform on the other side. Kuri le kam.
there were many people in worship. On the other side, there were people that were wearing a uniform, and then the car was on the other side.
what kind of uniform?
Any uniform as well.
Kuna le uniform de ngata because le ya mapolisa ya masole. Ya navy military the white.
Your worship, there were different kinds of uniforms. There was police officers' uniform, military officers' uniform. There was also Navy officers that were wearing white.
Okay, so upon looking, you say you saw Mr. Malema and Ndlozi pushing Mr. Fenter, and then what happened?
Or also everyone who love and the Malema and that it was bad, what to be the defense.
Kimo kile gata. Kaya hobo.
That is when I proceeded to them, your worship.
Continue.
So let's see the night.
Ila hanzo kusha na mkiwa kile kakena ela kifika kakena mahali hapo.
They were pushing each other, and then upon my arrival, I just stood in the middle of the worship, in their middle.
Stop. Sorry, worship, the interpreter is just saying stop, the court
Yes,
cannot
thank
see
you.
the worship.
Just a microphone. Is there a microphone in front? I just also need you to indicate your full names and surname, as well as your title for the record before you interpret.
The name is Tatora Worship. I'm the acting cluster manager. I'm the assistant around the cluster. According to the record Worship, I just noticed that my learned interpreter Worship said she proceeded in between them and stood. So now she was not supposed to say she stood in between them Worship.
So the correct interpretation would be?
He went between them.
Your Worship, there's one more that follows after this one.
Yes. May the record be continued?
Sorry. You have to stop it and go back. Oh my goodness. It's really in your hands.
Thank you, sir. If you are ready, you may proceed.
Today? Okay, na ka haru mag.
Kena kena center.
It was channel center, Your Worship.
Echo, dear.
How many people did you see when you stopped the vehicle? How many people was in the vehicle? When you how Elisa could be enough? What do we know about Baba Kaika?
Sa hopola nila batho ba bakae. Batho ke ba hlokomela ke Malema le.
I do not remember, Your Worship, how many.
Dulu di semua tengah dan kuasa dia maponisa dia masole. Yang dulu di situ lah.
Your Worship, there were different kinds of uniforms. There was police officers' uniform, military officers' uniform. There was also Navy officers that were wearing white. Okay, you said upon looking, you saw Malema and Ndlozi pushing Mr. Fenter, and then what happened? Ora hanto emimono ula bona ntate Malema le ntate Ndlozi ba futhumela le Fenter.
Semua kita kaya homo.
That's when I proceeded to the worship. Continue.
Ila hantu pushwa na mjua kita kakena ela kifika kakena mahali hapo.
They were pushing each other, and then upon my arrival, I just stood in the middle of the worship, in their middle.
And you did explain when you said they were pushing each other, I stood in the middle. Can you please, what are you talking about, Jay?
Just one moment.
The witness, according to my counsel, I came between them. I stood specifically. I came between them. I stood. The witness will clarify the question.
Yes, it was. Thank you, ma'am. Just for record purposes, there's an indication that there's a misrepresentation concerning what the witness has indicated. Can you just clarify that issue for us?
May the witness repeat what he has said, Your Worship?
Thank you, sir. You still remember, sir? Just repeat what you indicated.
Quello che la ratifica di ratifica vuole. Già che quello è per me sono anni fa. Già che ma che sceglie quando che sceglie ca non c'è un player che deve essere così che rimane ai motivi ci ma non lo camona dalla baba leka.
Your Worship, even the group of people which were standing side by side, facing each other, I then went and stood between the two groups. The person that I was standing in front of was Mr. Ndlozi.
That's okay.
Can you
Just approach Mr. Malema and just ask whether it is in line what was said.
No, I feel I sent a piece on the other side of the other piece, and the person I was looking at is in front of me. I cannot call you the element of the reason because two pieces, which the people bring from one to the other, and then on the other side of integrating solid language, not two between them. Thank you. The distraction now. He said the time between them was concentrating on Ndlozi, not that I stood between them. That's not incorrect to say, but rather I stood in the middle of
Thank you, ma'am. We have also listened to what was indicated. It is still not correct in the result.
I accept that, Your Worship.
Thank you. What the court will further direct, we will proceed with the matter itself. The portion which we have a problem with will be translated to the chief interpreter, and the correct interpretation from the record need to be given to the court as well to the judge. I think this is
Your Worship, may I continue?
You may continue. Thank you, Mr. Rametsi. Just one moment, I think we still need to get back onto the record. Can I just also get clarity with regards to the first interpretation? Were we back on record? Thank you. We are back on record. It's with case number 3/4067/2019. Thank you, Mr. Rametsi.
Yes, Your Worship, as I stated for Your Worship, the issue was when my learned colleague said Your Worship, stood Your Worship. So now that is impossible, Your Worship. He actually went in between and concentrating on Mr. Ndlozi, Your Worship.
Thank you.
He actually went in between.
Yes.
In between. Advocate Ouders as well as Ms. Hart.
Confirm
The
that
parties
I was
also,
instructed as well. It's exactly what I was
the chief
instructed.
interpreter is now placed before court.
Exactly. Just
The court
not
will-
that I can, but that's what I'm told in the system.
Yes, thank you. The court will then direct that the interpretation of the chief interpreter will be the correct interpretation for use of the record. The portion which was interpreted by the interpreter previously is to be deleted from the record, and the court will accept the chief interpreter's interpretation. Ms. Hart, is there anything else?
No, Your Worship.
I believe that was the only issue which
Yes,
was
Your
before the court. Thank you, sir. Can you indicate to the court your full names and surname?
Re kopa mabiso ha feletseng le seboko.
Moleleki Gilbert Mapisa.
Moleleki Gilbert Mapisa.
Mr. Mapisa, you're still under oath. You have not discussed your evidence with anyone. Is that correct?
O ntse o le ka tlasa kano, ha hona motho e leng hore o ile wa qoqa le yena ka molato ona akere? I confirm so, Your Worship.
Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Proceed.
Yes, you may.
Mr. Mapisa, we were still at paragraph 1 of your statement where we dealt with this particular funeral. And I had put you that it was a very auspicious occasion and someone important had died. What I want to ask you, sir, is were you aware that there was a program for this funeral?
Jwale he monghadi, re sa le paragrafong ya pele. E kabe o ne o tseba hore ho na le lenane tsamaiso phupung ena?
Nna ke instructor fela ke captain ya ka e ne le teng.
Yes, Worship, I got the instructions from my captain.
And if one had regard to that program, which is Exhibit A before this honourable court, it detailed who was going to deliver which addresses in respect of the deceased. Do you agree with me?
Can you say that again?
If one has regard to that program, which is Exhibit A before this honourable court, it detailed who were the dignitaries that were going to give specific addresses in memory of the deceased, Mrs. Mandela.
Mane lenane tsamaisong e leng hore ile ya nkuwa ya etswa pontsho ya A. Ho ne ho ngotswe kapa ho hlalositswe hore na ke bomang dibui tse tlileng hore di tlo nka karolo phupung eno. Ho jwalo.
Lenane leo ha ke a le bona. Ntho e ke leng ka e bona ke television.
I did not see the program, Your Worship. I only saw at the television.
I want to put you that one of the tributes, it's number 17 in Exhibit A, Your Worship, was a tribute by Mr. Julius Malema, accused number 1. Do you dispute that?
Mani exhibiting ya a kapaponso ya a mani ho number nomoro ya leshome le misupileng ho ne hona le sebui se leng hore se ngotswe mane e le monghadi Malema e ka ba o ka dumelana le nna
hi program ya ke a bona nna ka ke batho go ra go tlosisa nka ba ka e bona ha lo ba bua ka program ha ke a bona lo
if you are talking about the program of the funeral, I did not see that, Your Worship.
And to finish paragraph 1, you put your telephone number there, 01121256673. You confirm that telephone number at the time, is that correct?
Jole he hona le nomoro ya mohala e leng hore e ngotswe mona noto 11 pedi 12 hlano tshelela supa tharo o dumelana le nna
e ke mosebetsi ke nomoro ya mosebetsi.
That is my work telephone number, Your Worship.
So we've now completed paragraph 1. You agree that everything in that paragraph is the truth?
Jwale he monghadi re qetile ka paragraph ya pele o dumelana le nna hore dintho kaofela tse ngotsweng paragraphong ena ya pele ke nnete?
Ke nnete.
Yes, Worship, it is the truth.
Right, we turn to paragraph 2. On Saturday, 2018/04/14, at about approximately 1600 hours, I was posted there at the four-way Memorial Park to control traffic and parking duties.
Jwale he ore ka Moqebelo ka 2018 letsatsing la leshome le metso e mene kgweding ya bone e ne e le mane dihoreng tsa bone mane mo ileng hore o ne o sebeletsa mabitleng a four-way mme he o ne o le molaola sephethephethe mme he o thusa le hore batho ba kgone ho paka dikoloi tsa bona.
Ke nnete.
That is correct, so Your Worship.
And that's the truth, you agree with me?
O dumelana le nna hore sena ke nnete?
Ke nnete.
It's true, Your Worship.
The second sentence of that paragraph, I confirm that the vehicles that were having escort were directed straight to the VIP parking, including the black Vito, which was transporting the EFF members.
Jwale, ke a dumela hore dikoloi kaofela tse neng di na le phelehetso di ne di bontshwa plekeng mo di tla emang teng mo e leng hore ho ema batho ba bohlokwa kapa ho paka batho ba bohlokwa ho kenyeletsa le Vito entsho e neng e tsamaisa di-membara tsa sehlopha sa EFF.
Ke nnete.
That is correct, so Your Worship.
And you confirm that that is the truth, sir?
O dumelana hore le nna hore paragraph ena ya bobedi ke dinnete?
Ke nnete.
It's true, Your Worship.
So you're confirming now that the vehicle with the EFF members being a black Vito had an escort and was directed to the VIP parking. Do you agree with me?
O dumelana le nna hore Vito ena entsho ene ena le ba felehetsi mme he ile ya bontshwa mo e tshwantse ho paka teng?
E se ho paka ho tswa ene e kena ka cemetery.
Not packing, Your Worship, it was entering into the cemetery.
Yes, but it was directed, I assume by you, to the VIP parking. Do you agree?
Ke wena o neng o ba supeltsha parking ya batho ba bohlokwa. O dumelana le nna?
Kan e jwalo.
That is correct, so Your Worship.
Now, sir, you agree with me in paragraph 2, there's no mention of you stopping the vehicle.
Jwale paragraphong a ena ya bobedi ha hona mane mo ileng hore o ngotse hore o ile wa emisa koloi ena.
Ke batla we araba ka bokgutshwanyane. Ntho e nngwe ke ngotse mo ke brief ya what happened at the gate.
I want to answer it briefly, so Your Worship. What I have written here is a summary of what had happened on that day, Your Worship.
No, no. It was a factual account. It may be a summary, but it does not mention having stopped that black veto. Do you agree with me?
E ka nne ya eba kgutsufatso fela ha ona mo o ngotseng teng hore o ile wa emisa veto ena statement sa hao.
Mona le ponisa ha ne le mpotsa potso o la re ho nna koloi tse kaofela tse tsa di VIP di le tsa kena ka hare le ena ile ya kena ka re le ena ile ya kena. That's why ke itse including gore le yona ile ya kena. It was directed.
Your worship, the police officer that was taking my statement asked all the vehicles entered, and I said yes, and it said including the said vehicle that we are talking about, and I said yes.
I'm going to repeat for the third time. You never mentioned here that you stopped the black veto with the EFF members. Do you agree with me?
Monghadi, ke a boeletsa hape ha hona mo o ngotseng teng hore o ile wa emisa veto e ntsho.
Mona ha ke a ngola.
Yes, worship, I did not mention on the statement.
Thank you. Now this was when you were told by the police officer more than a year later, this is about the incident between Colonel Fenter and the two accused persons. Do you agree with me?
Jwale o ile wa jwetswa ke leponesa hore o bile le ketsahalo ena mahareng a bontate Malema le ntate Ndlozi le monghadi Venter ka mora selemo e etsahetse.
Ke na ho putitse.
Yes, so she is the one that had reminded me.
Paragraph 3. While I was busy directing the vehicles from outside the gates of Memorial Park Cemetery 4 ways, that's when heard a noise from inside as if something was wrong. Do you agree with that?
Jwale ore nako e ke nentse ke fitisa dikoloi ke le ka ntle ho heke ya mabitla a 4 way ke mane mo ke ileng ka utlwa lerata le ile hore le ne le etsahala ka hare e kare ho ne ho na le se fosahetseng.
Ho jwalo.
That is correct, so your worship.
Continues. When I got inside the yard of the cemetery, I saw the EFF members, Mr. Malema and Mr. Ndlozi, who were even pushing the SAPS member. Do you confirm that?
Ore ho keneng haka ka hare ho jarete ke mane mo ke ileng ka bona batho ba sehlopha sa EFF e le monghadi Malema le monghadi Ndlozi ba khothometsa leponisa le itseng. That is correct, so your worship.
And to ask you, sir, if you remembered Colonel Fenter's name, why do you refer to him there as the SAPS member, sir?
Ha ile hore o ne o hopola lebitso la monghadi Venter ke ka lebaka la eng o itse membera ya maponesa kapa e mong wa maponesa?
Nka baka ba specific ho yena.
I was not specific to him, your worship.
That's not an answer, sir. You saw one man being pushed. In court, you identify him as Colonel Fenter. When you made your statement, you referred to him as the SAPS member. Please, can you explain, if you remembered his name all the time, why you didn't refer to him as Colonel Fenter?
Jwale monghadi, o bona batho ba khothometsa leponisa lo leng hore o a tseba ke mang. Fela, jwalo ka ha o hlalositse ka hare ho lekgotla la dinyewe hore ke monghadi Venter. Fela statementeng sa hao ha o hlalose hore ke monghadi Venter ore e mong wa sepolisa.
That's go ke ka ho ke reng inele go re leponisa le leng wala statement ne tshantse be mohlongo o ngola le bitso le so yena ona shoto ya khutsufatsa statement is.
Your worship, I have said The police office, I'm saying the police officer that was taking my statement was supposed to mention every person. However, he was just summarizing what had happened.
This is your statement, and you'll see that you identify one name, Mr. Malema and Mr. Ndlozi, but when it comes to this other person, you refer to him as the SAPS member.
Monghadi ho makatsa ka lebaka la hore o kgone ho bitsa lengolo lebitso la ntate Ndlozi le ntate Malema fela ha o tloa lepoliseng o re e mong wa mapolesa. Yes, it was Mr. Fenter, Your Worship.
I'm putting to you, and I told you earlier, you're not telling the truth when you say you remembered his name, because you would have put his name there.
Yeah, that's a hard. Obua leshanu ha o re ono o hopotse lebitso la hae ka lebaka la hore o no tshwantse hore o le ngotse mona nana statement sa hae.
Ke ne ke hlalosetsa leponesa ditaba tse etsahetseng yena a ngola.
I was explaining to the police officer what had happened. He was the one that was writing.
I'll continue, sir. You haven't answered the question, but I'm going to continue. You say, I then intervened by talking to Mr. Ndlozi to go back to his vehicle. Do you agree with that?
Jwale he o re wena o ile wa kenella. Ke mane mo ilong hore o ile wa jwetsa ntate Ndlozi hore a kgutlele ka koloing. O la bua le yena.
Yeah.
That is correct, so Your Worship.
The truth, you agree?
Ke nnete.
Yeah.
That is true, Your Worship.
You say further, Mr. Ndlozi was busy asking me why the SAPS member does not want to allow them at cemetery, whereas they're having credentials to be at the four-way cemetery. Do you confirm with that? Do you confirm the content?
Ore ntate Ndlozi o nantse a ho botsa hore hobaneng maponesa ana a sa dumele hore re kene ka hare ho jarete ya mabitla ka lebaka la hore re na le tumello kapa re na le tokelo ya ho kena. That is true, Your Worship.
You see again, sir, you're talking about Mr. Ndlozi, but when it comes to Colonel Fenter, you speak of the SAPS member. Do you agree with me?
Jwale he monghadi o ntse o aga o bitsa lebitso lena la ntate Ndlozi. Empa ha o tshwantse o bue ka leponesa lena, ha o bitse lebitso la lona o ntse re leponesa lena.
O tshwere leponesa lena le ngwala mo ke yena a sa tsepamisane ditaba.
Your Worship, the police officer that was taking down my statement is the one who did not put the things in the right manner.
So what you're saying is you used the name Colonel Fenter, and that police officer changed it to the SAPS member. Is that what you're telling the court?
O leka hore jwetsa hore wena o ntse o re monghadi Fenter. Fela le ponisa le ne linka statement sa hao le ntse le re e mong wa mapolisa.
Ntwe ke entseng ke ne ke mo hlalosetsa hore ho etsaetseng yena ba ngwala paragraph.
What I did was to explain what had happened, and he was writing the paragraphs.
And answer the question or carry on, sir. Given you an opportunity. You say here that Mr. Ndlozi told you that they were having credentials. Do you agree that not only the people but also the vehicle were accredited to enter that cemetery?
Jwale he monghadi Ndlozi o ile a o jwetsa hore ba na le tokelo ya go kena. Le koloi ena ya bona ine ina le tumello ya hore e ka kena.
O bua ne nakwana ha ne ke emisa kapa after
the statement in Sahau.
O sa bobedi.
The second one, Your Worship, I do not see clearly.
And I'm not reading your statement. I asked you a question above your statement. Do you agree that both the people and the vehicle were accredited to go into that cemetery that day.
Batho ba neng ba le ka hare ho koloi ba ne ba ina le tokelo ya hore ba ka kena ka hare.
Ke ska ha tshwara ne bana le tokelo. Nna ho ya ka nna ne bana le tokelo hobane ke bone di VIP ka hara koloi.
Yes, Lordship, according to myself, they had the right to enter because I saw the VIPs in the vehicle.
Now, I agree with you, thank you, but now I'm going further. Both the people, the individual people and the vehicle were allowed to enter. Do you agree with me?
Jwale he, batho ba ne ba le ka hare ha mmoho le yona koloi ena ba ne ba ina le tukelo ya ba ne ba ina le tumello ya ho kena. That is correct, so your worship.
You then say that at the end he went inside their vehicle together with Mr. Malema. Do you confirm that?
Ore bele ba qetella yena le ntate Malema ba kena ka koloing. Yes, worship, they entered. Ke kopa o buele hodimo ntate ne.
You then say they were then given permission to enter with their vehicle at the VIP section. Do you confirm that?
Mehe ore ba ile ba qetella ba fuwa tumello ya hore ba kene le koloi ya bona ho ya mane sectoring ya batho ba bohlokwa. That is correct, so Yosha.
You then say that's all I can state. Do you confirm that?
Ke tsona fela tsone o ka di bua ho ya ka statement sa hao. Ntate?
Yeah.
That is correct, so Yosha.
So you confirm that everything that's contained in paragraph 4 of your statement is the truth, is that correct?
Jalo o dumelana le nna hore dintho kaofela tse ngotsweng paragraphong ya bone ke dinnete.
Ke nnete.
That is correct, so Yosha.
And that's why, as we've done, we don't have to repeat, you had no difficulty taking the oath as detailed in paragraph 5 and the stamp beneath that. Do you agree with me?
Jwale he ke mane mo ileng hole wa hlaloswa paragraphong ya 5 hore wena ha ona bothata ba ho nka kano le hore o utlwisisa statement sena mme sa qetella se be wa tlasa kano.
Ke dumela.
I agree, Yosha.
Your Worship, I respectfully request that this statement be accepted by this Honourable Court as Exhibit L. That will be the next exhibit.
Thank you. Is there any further questions with regards to the statement at this stage?
I'm going to question the witness, but not on the statement as yet.
Yes. Inspector, the statement? In the interim, while I'm waiting for the statement, can I get clarity why the defense team does not wear masks?
There's no mask.
Advocate?
Worship, I'm going to tell them to put their masks on. I apologize.
I know sometimes your glasses get fog, and then most probably, is there any sufficient reason why the court should not allow them to wear masks, or are they comfortable with their mask?
Thank you, Worship.
As indicated, the statement was introduced as evidence at the start before the witness was basically given evidence by the state. There is no objection with regards to the said statement by the court, so the court will receive the said statement by consent of the parties and will mark it as Exhibit L. The court will also rule that the said statement has become admissible as evidence before the court and it is introduced then as Exhibit L.
Thank you, Worship. Now, you've watched the video today and you've seen the convoy arriving on the video. Do you agree with me?
Jwale he monghadi o ne o shebile tshwantshisong mane kapa video mme he o ile wa bona a kere ha batho ha convoy ena e kena. Yes, Worship, I did.
And I want to put to you that black Vita vehicle was part of the convoy. Do you have any do you disagree with me?
O dumelana le nna kapa o hanetsana le nna hore Vito ele ya emiswa ele ka hare ho dikoloi tse ding ka hare ho convoy?
Ha ke dumelane le yona.
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I'll repeat it. No, thank you. It can happen. There is no aspersions caused or whatever. What I put to you is we've seen the video today of the convoy arriving, and I'm putting to you that black Vita was part of the convoy. Can you dispute that?
Vito ele jolo ka ho bona dikoloi e ne le karolo ya convoy.
Ne se karolo ya convoy.
It was not part of the convoy, Worship.
Then why did you not say it in your statement, sir?
Jwale hobaneng o sa ngola statementeng sa hao hore e ne e se karolo ya convoy?
Ke ka hoo ke tjhong ke re statementeng sa ka ha ne re ka se ngola the way ke tshwantse ke e sentse shone slides are 8 page.
Your Worship, that is why I have already explained that my statement was just shortened. If I were supposed to write each and everything sequentially, then it was going to be about 8 pages of my statement.
Did anybody tell you there's a restriction on the amount of pages in your statement, sir?
Ekaba hona le motho a ileng a o jwetsa hore hona le tekanyetso ya maqepe a statement. No, Your Worship, I'm just explaining.
Did the police officer tell you, you mustn't write too much, my hand's tired? Or did he let you say whatever you want?
Jwale monghadi le polisi le la o jwetsa hore o ska ba bua haholo nna le tsola ka le kgathetse kapa o la o tloela wa bua fela.
Ne re bua a ngola paragraph ne ine le brief ya ntho le nngwe e etsahetseng.
We were talking, he was writing the paragraph. It was just a brief of what had happened.
And did you tell him whether that veto had an escort or not?
Ola mo jwetsa hore veto yane ina le bafelehetsi kapa tjhe.
Ke le ka jwetsa ma le police.
Who? The police officer? Monghadi.
Ke le ka mo jwetsa.
Yes, Worship, I did.
And what did you tell him? It did have an escort.
O itse ina le bafelehetsi. Veto. Escort.
Oh, it is not escort.
It did not have an escort.
Are you certain of that, sir?
Ekaba o na le bonnete ba seo?
Ha di koloi di na le escort. I don't want to maponesa o po bona eng. Yona e tlile ka morao e se tsamaile le nngwe e tla kwa.
Your Worship, if the vehicle has an escort, you will see the police officer or so. But this vehicle came alone.
I want to read your own paragraph 2 that you've confirmed is the truth, sir. Second sentence. You say here, I confirm that the vehicles that were having escort were directed straight to the VIP parking, including the black Vito which was transporting the EFF members.
Ke a dumela hore dikoloi kaofela tse neng di bile le bafelehetsi di ile tsa kinywa ka hare tsa bontshwa parking ya batho ba bohlokwa go kenyeletsa le Vito e ntsho e neng e tsamaisa di-membera tsa sehlopha sa EFF.
Ntwena mo ho including ke ne ke hlalosa fela hore le yona ile ya kena ka hare e seng hore ine le party ya convoy.
Your Worship, when I was stating including, I meant it had entered into the yard, not to say that it was part of the convoy.
It doesn't say that, sir. It doesn't say that.
Hi, Chozwan. Maybe he got beaten by English.
And I want to put you, it's irreconcilable with your version today, sir.
I do not understand what you mean.
I'll tell you. If one reads your statement, one cannot reconcile your version today that the Vito arrived after the convoy had entered the cemetery and that was traveling alone and that you then stopped it. You won't find that fitting into what your version in your written statement was. It's irreconcilable.
How o hlalosa hore Vito ena ene ise karolo ya convoy itlile ile nngwe.
Ke a dumela. Ho tjho hore yena na Ntsetsebe o ngotse mona hore including the black Vito which was transporting EFF member afterwards, because it's after the convoy is in.
I agree to that, Your Worship. That simply means he was supposed to write that, including a black Vito that was transporting the EFF members, which came along afterwards.
If you say came along afterwards, you can't use the word including. So
Monghadi, ha o re ka mora moo, ha o kekebe wa kgona ho sebedisa ho kenyeletsa le
Nna ntho e ke buile ho tjho hore yena le ponesa le phrasing ya hae e la ba problem ya phrasing of the sentence.
Your Worship. What I have explained to him, it seems like he had a problem of phrasing a sentence, Your Worship, of forming a sentence.
there's a major problem with that, sir. He never took an oath on the statement you did.
Ke bona bothata bono no. Ene isi yena a neng a etsa statement e ne e le wena.
Yena o na se ngola.
He was writing down.
But so even today, you said it's the truth when I read it to you.
One moment.
I beg your pardon, I think that is an intervention. I'll clarify, there's a confusion. When I said he's not the one who took the oath, you're the one who took the oath, the interpreter said the statement, but we can clarify it, Your Worship. So let me repeat it.
Yes, you may do so.
Thank you, thank you, Your Worship. You took the oath at the end of this statement, not the police officer. Do you agree with me?
Wena, ke wena a nkileng kano ha o qeta ho ngola statement. Ha se le ponisa le ne le nka statement ho wena.
Ke a dumela.
I agree to that, Your Worship.
Not only that, sir, today in court you repeated and confirmed, sentence by sentence, that this was the truth. Do you agree with me?
Ha se ntho eno fela. Le ka hare ho lekgotla la dinyewe kajeno. Re ile ra bala statement sa hao ke ha ntse o dumelana le sona ho ya ka mekgahlelo. That is correct, so Your Worship.
And when you did so, you never said, no, there's a mistake. There's a word missing. It's afterwards, or they weren't part of that. You were happy to confirm under oath what you'd written under oath before this honorable court. Do you agree with me?
Jwale nako e re ntse re bala statement sa hao ha o a ke wa hlalosa hore bo hona le phoso e etsahetseng ho no tshwantse hore ho bile le hore e tlile ha mamorao e ne e se karolo ya convoy fela o ne o khotsofetse o dumelana le sona statement sena
Ke la ka dumelana le sona. Ntho e ke tshong gore details e ke se ntho ngwe le ngwe re tla hlalosa ka court.
Yes, Worship, I agreed or I confirmed the statement and I said all the details will be given at court.
It's not a question of detail, sir. They're irreconcilable. They don't fit together. They don't match. But I want to go further. You then, in the next paragraph, specifically refer to what happened to this black Vito. Do you agree with me?
Jwale o le ba qetella o ya tlase o hlalosa hore na o etsaetseng ka Vito ena. O la qetella o ya pele o hlalosa ho etsaetseng.
Ska hona mo mona ke bua hore include ine kena ne ke hlalosa hore le yona jwale ka di VIP cars tse di e kene ka symmetry.
When I was saying including, I was meaning to say it also entered within the yard just like other VIP vehicles, Your Worship.
You're not even dealing with the question. You seem to be wanting to make a statement with the question. I'm moving on, sir. I've warned you several times. The court can draw an inference from your failure to answer the question. What I want to put to you, sir, and you've said already, in the statement you don't, on your own version, you never mentioned stopping that black veto. Do you agree with me?
Can you repeat that?
Yes. In your own statement, and you've already said this today, you don't ever mention stopping that black veto. Do you agree with me?
So the statement in Sahau, how na man mo ilo wahlalosa hore o la emisa veto. E jwalo ke?
Mona statement ha ke a hlalosa e jwalo.
On the statement, Your Worship, I did not explain it.
You never mentioned it. It's not a case of explaining it. You didn't even mention it. You didn't say, I stopped it for 1 second, or I didn't stop it at all. You never mentioned stopping. It's not a question of detail, it's a question of fact, sir.
Monghadi, statement in Sahau, ha hona mo ilo hore o ile wa ngola hore ke ile ka emisa veto, ha wa e ngola ho hang.
Ha se ona fela hona le ntho tse ngata tse ke sa di ngola statement-eng.
That is not the only thing that I did not mention on my statement, Joseph. There are other aspects that I did not mention on my statement.
I'm going to put you, sir, you didn't mention it because it never happened. You never stopped that vehicle.
Jwale he monghadi ke a o jwetsa hore ha wa e ngola statement sa hao ka lebaka la hore wena ha o wa ke wa emisa veto eno ho hang.
Jwale ke bone jwang hore batho ba ka hare ke bo mang if ne ke sa emisa.
If I did not stop it, Your Worship, how did I see whom are the people inside the veto?
How much you have to answer your question, sir?
Ha ke mona ho arabela potso tsa hao monghadi.
But I'll counter you. Tell me who was in the vehicle if you claim that you know who was in the vehicle. Who was there? See, you stopped it and you know who was there.
Ha ile hore o ile wa tsiba hore na ke bo mang ba ne ba le ka hare ho koloi eno jwalo ka ha wena hore o e emisitse. A go re hlalosetse ke bo mang?
Ke tsene le driver ke mo tsebe. Batho ke ba tsebile mababedi. Ke tla bona hore ba ke di VIP.
Your Worship, there was a driver of which I did not know. I only saw 2 people that I know. That is when I realized that these are the VIPs.
How many people were in the vehicles?
Bane ba ile ba kae batho ka hare ho koloi?
Ke sa phetha hape. Ha ke sa hopola ne le batho ba kae. Mara driver ke le teng le bahlomphehi ba le teng.
Your Worship, I am repeating again. I do not remember how many people were inside that vehicle. However, the 2 honorable gentlemen in court, they were there, Your Worship.
I put you, there were 4 people in the vehicle. Can you dispute it?
Ke a o jwetsa hore ho ne ho ina le batho ba bane ka hare ho koloi. O ka phisana le nna?
Ha nka se phisana ha ke sa hopola ne le batho ba kae.
I cannot dispute that, Your Worship, because I do not remember how many people were in that vehicle.
Did you speak to the driver?
O ile wa bua le mokganni?
Ha nka ba ka bua le ena.
No, Your Worship.
So you saw a vehicle approaching, you saw the 2 accused in the vehicle, and you motioned to it that it could proceed in. Is that correct?
Ore o ile wa bona koloi ena etla wa be o bona hore hona le bahlomphehi ka hare o be o ifitisa ho jwalo.
Ye ho jwalo.
That is correct, so Your Worship.
You recognize them as VIPs that were entitled to be at the funeral. Do you agree with me?
Jwale o ile wa ba bona jwalo ka batho ba bohlokwa ba neng ba ena le tokelo ya hore ba be teng phupung. Yes, Your Worship.
And you recognize that the vehicle had a permit in the front that also entitled it to go in. Do you agree with me?
Jwale koloi ena ka pele ina le permit ya hore e ka kena ka hare.
Ha nka ba ka hlokomela permit.
I did not look at the permit.
You may not have looked at it, but you saw a document on the dashboard. Do you agree with me?
How le hoja o sa sheba mara o bone tokomane hodima dashboard.
Captain ya rona ha ne re bya post ha ka ba re shebe any credentials or o buile ka escorted vehicles se tshantse di ke.
Your Worship, when our commander posted us, he did not tell us to look at the credentials and whatsoever. he spoke about, he told us to take the vehicles that were escorted of the VIPs.
And you recognize that this was a vehicle containing VIPs and was entitled to enter. Do you agree with me?
Jwale o ile wa bona hore koloi ena e na le batho ba bohlokwa mme e na le tokelo ya hore e ka kena. Correct, so your worship.
There was no way that you could tell those people they're not allowed to go in because you knew they were entitled to be there. Do you agree with me?
Jwale ha hona tsela e leng hore wena o no ka ba jwetsa hore ha bana tokelo ya ho kena. Ha ba tshwanela ho kena ka lebaka la hore o no tseba hore ke batho ba bohlokwa ba na le tokelo ya ho kena.
Re fuwe instruction ya hore ke VIP di kene.
Yes, worship, we were given an instruction that the VIPs must enter.
And you, having recognized them as VIPs, directed them towards the VIP parking. Is that correct?
Jwale ha o bona hore ke batho ba bohlokwa, o ile wa ba fitisetsa parking ya batho ba bohlokwa.
Ke la ka ba fitisetsa straight mo main gate ya credit koloi ka fela ne di kena in the main gate of the entrance. Ke la ka di fitisetsa straight.
Yes, worship, I directed them, I passed them straight, worship, to the main gate of the cemetery because all the vehicles were entering through the main gate of the cemetery.
So you saw the vehicles entering and you've seen it on the video with their hazards on, and this vehicle fitted into that description of a vehicle carrying VIPs that should enter. Do you agree with me?
Jwale monghadi dikoloi o di bone mane hore di ne di kgantsha mabone. Jwale he le koloi ena nana le yona e ne e tshwana kapa e ne e fita hore e ka ba koloi e tsamayang le tsona. Ka lebaka la hore na le batho ba bohlokwa.
Ke ntse ka hobane e na le batho ba bohlokwa. Ho yane e ntse le the very same car. Your worship,
I allowed the vehicle to enter because it had VIPs. If it was the same vehicle with no VIPs, I wouldn't have allowed that vehicle to go through.
Because in your mind there was no doubt that that vehicle was entitled to enter. Do you agree?
Sorry, worship?
In your mind, I said because in your mind there was no doubt that that vehicle was entitled to enter the VIP section. Do you agree?
Monahanong wa hao ho ne ho sena pelaelo ho hang hore koloi ena e na le tokelo ya hore e ka kena. Ka lebaka la hore ke batho e na le batho ba bohlokwa.
Ka hobane e na le batho ba bohlokwa ne tlameha hore ke.
Yes, worship, because it had VIPs, it had to enter.
You testified that you then heard a noise and turned around and saw people pushing each other. Is that correct?
Ore o ile wa utlwa lerata ka morao mme o ile wa bona batho ba neng ba khotubetsana. Ho jwang? That is correct, so your worship.
In fact, you used the term through the interpreter that these people were pushing each other not once but twice. Do you agree with me?
Jwale monghadi o lenne wa ne wa khutlela wa ne wa re batho bana ba ne ba khotumetsana. O ntse o boeletsa lentswe le
ne ke le holenyana ke le holenyana ha o sheba batho mane ne kore ha ke tsebe mang o na pusha mang ka nako e ne ke le hole mara e la re ha ke atomela ke mo khona ho bona re ho etsala.
Yes, your worship, I was a bit far, and then when you are far you cannot see who is pushing who, and then I came closer. That is when I saw what was happening.
And when you came closer, you went even so far as to come between them, concentrating on Mr. Ndlozi. Is that correct?
Jwale he ore ha o fitla o ile wa kena mahareng a bona mme motho o ileng hore o ile wa shebana le yena kapa motho o ileng hore o ne o na le yena o bua le yena ke ntate Ndlozi. That is correct, so your worship.
And that's when Mr. Ndlozi, accused number 2, was cross, and he told you words to the effect that he's entitled to enter, they are accredited and can go inside. Do you agree?
Jwale he ke mane mo ileng hore ntate Ndlozi o ile a o jwetsa hore re na le tokelo ya ho kena, re na le mangolo a ho kena.
Ntwana a le a bua ke hore Hobaneng ba re stoppa ska ra kena ka cemetery ge na le tokelo.
What he said was that, why are we refused entry within the yard of the cemetery, whereas we have the right to do so?
In your statement, you said, he explained that they had credentials to do so. Do you agree with me?
Or the credentials token.
Credentials.
Credentials.
Gona ne re sa sebetse ka di-credentials.
We did not work on credentials, Your Worship.
It's not what you worked on. In your statement, you say, Mr. Ndlozi told you that they are having credentials to be at the 4-way cemetery. It's paragraph 4. Do you agree with me?
Paragraph ya hao ya bone ya statement or Ntate Ndlozi o jwetsa hore ba na le credentials kapa tumello ya ho kena.
Nna ha ne ke bua le motho a lengwe la se ke itse ba na le tumello ke yona credentials. Maybe I could receive a credential again.
Maybe I do not understand the credential, Your Worship. When I was talking to the police officer that took my statement, I said they had a right to enter. Maybe I don't understand what credential is.
No. You've confirmed it in court and in your statement, so that, and I'm reading from paragraph 4. Mr. Ndlozi was busy asking me why the SAPS member does not want to allow them at cemetery whereas they are having credentials to be at the 4-way cemetery. It's there in your own statement, sir.
Statement den sa hao ke eno e ngotswe. Monghadi Ndlozi o ile a mpotsa hobaneng mapolisa ana a ba hanetsa hore ba kene. Hodima moo ba ena le di-credentials tsa hore ba ka kena. Tumello ka mantswe a mang.
Ke a dumela.
I agree to that, Your Worship.
So you know what credentials are, and that's what you heard from Mr. Ndlozi on your own version. Do you agree with me?
Jwale monghadi o ne taba ya di-credentials o utlwile ho Ntate Ndlozi kapa o no e tseba?
Ke utlwile ha yena na bua.
I heard him when he was mentioning that, Your Worship.
So then, having intervened, you tried to calm him down and to get him into the vehicle so that they could enter the cemetery. Is that correct?
Jwale he o ne o leka hore o ka mo theola moya mme he hore a kgone go khutela ka koloing ba kene ka hare mabitleng. That is correct, so Your Worship.
And he complied with your request. We see even on the video, accused number 1, Mr. Malema, was already going of his own accord into the vehicle, and accused number 2, Dr. Ndlozi, followed your request to him to get into the vehicle. Is that correct?
Jwale he monghadi o la qetella a mamela kopo ya hao kapa sono mo jwetsa sona mme a qetella he a kena ka koloing mme he re bone le mane tshwantshiso hore Ntate Malema yena o le a ikela yena ka boyena.
Ke a dumela.
I agree to that.
And there is no reason for you to refer or send this vehicle to Colonel Fenter because you knew, as you've told the court, that it held VIPs that were entitled to enter. Do you agree?
Jwale ho ne ho sena bohlokwa ba hore o fitisetse koloi ena ho kenele mane ka lebaka la hore o bone hore ene ena le batho ba bohlokwa.
Ine ke tlameha hore ke fitisetse ho yena. Nna ne ke le holenyana on a distance. When I see the VIP, I directed this way. When I see it's not VIP, I directed on the left-hand side. So because I saw it's the VIP, that's why I directed the SAPS members, they were at the main gate. Exactly on the main gate, with some MP members.
I had to direct it to the gate, Your Worship. I was far from the gate. So the MP members and the police officers were standing at the main entrance at the gate of the cemetery, Your Worship.
And I want to put
If the vehicle is of the VIPs, I send it directly to the main gate. If it's not a VIP vehicle, then I send it to the left side.
And you sent it to the main gate, having recognized it as containing VIPs. Do you agree?
Jwale o ile wa fitisetsa hekeng e kgolo ya ho kena ka baka la hore o bone hore ena le batho ba bohlokwa.
Ke nnete.
That is correct, so Your Worship.
Now, in that confrontation that you became involved in, you didn't feel that you had been assaulted. Do you agree with me?
Jwale nako o ne o le mane mo website ketsahalo teng o ne o se motho ya ikutlwang e ka roka shatwa. Did I interpret it?
We can only judge when the answer is being given.
Correct, Sir Your Worship.
Sorry, Your Worship.
Thank you.
Oh, the scene interpreter has just given me a message that the witness must maintain Sesotho, Your Worship. Alternatively proceed in English. It is confusing, Your Worship. So,
thank you.
the scene
Just for clarification, Mr. Mapisa, what language do you wish to testify in?
Monghadi o tlo sebedisa puo e feng? O bua o fana ka bopaki ba hao. O tlo sebedisa puo e feng ka lebaka la hore ke utlwa o tlolela ka sejatlhaping ke utlwa o bua Sesotho.
Okay. Leleme la lapeng ke Sesotho. Sekgowa ke se sekolong. Ke itse ga ke kena mona ka re ke batla go sebedisa leleme la ka gore ke batla se ke ba ka misa anything because ha re ka bua sekgowa ba bua di-term tse ke sa di tsebeng then o tlo thola ke araba ntho e ke sa e utlwisiseng.
Your Worship, my mother tongue is Sesotho. I went to school for English. Now, I do not want to use English because there might be terms that I do not understand that may be utilized, Your Worship. So I just want to understand everything and not miss anything.
It is correct, sir. So what the interpreter is requesting is that you stick to one language. So please just testify in Sesotho. If there's anything unclear where you cannot express yourself in Sesotho, then just inform the court that you want to make use of another language in that regard, so that the record can be clear.
Ho na le kopo e tswang ho mongaka hore o kopa hore o eme Sesotho ka lebaka la hore ha ile hore hona le dintho tse ileng hore o batla ho sebedisa leleme le leng sejatlhapi o tshwantse hore o hlalosetse le kotla hore wena o hloka ho sebedisa sejatlhapi.
Nka se sebedisa sejatlhapi ha ile hore ba tla bua English e simple e ke e utlwisisa.
Your Worship, I can use English. That's if we're going to use a simple English.
No, sir, it's fine. Sesotho is fine. Just speak Sesotho as we have started your evidence in Sesotho.
Jwale monghadi o re qadile ka Sesotho ke kopa re tswele pele ka Sesotho.
Ke tla sebedisa Sesotho ga gona utlwa.
Yes, Your Worship, I will use Sesotho so that we can understand each other.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Advocate Aldous, you may proceed.
And what I want to put to you, sir, is that both of the accused believed that they were entitled to enter the cemetery for the burial ceremony. Do you agree?
Jwale he ntate benghadi bana ba le babedi ba ina le tokelo ya hore ba ka kena ka hare ba tle le patong kapa phupung.
Ke a dumela.
I agree, Your Worship.
And that anybody who tried to stop them from going into that funeral would be acting illegally. Do you have any comment?
Motho a ileng hore o leka ho ba thibela ho kena o tlabe a etsa tlolo ya molao. O dumelana le nna?
Ha ne ke qala ke bua mo ke itse Colonel Venter ne le ena in charge go gate kwana gate.
Your Worship, when I started with my testimony, I said Colonel Venter was the one that was in charge at the gate.
But Colonel Venter can't stop somebody who's entitled to go to the funeral from going to the funeral. Do you agree with me?
Ntate Colonel ha ana tokelo ya hore a ka thibela batho ba ileng hore ba tshwanetse ba kene ka hare. O dumelana le nna?
qeto e ne le ya hae mara ke a dumela hore ha motho e le hore o tlameha ke ha ona ntho e tla mo thiba.
Your worship, that is his decision. However, I personally agree that if a person should enter inside or must enter, then there's nothing that I can do.
I agree with you, but I'm going to use an example. So if the late Zinzi Mandela wanted to go to her mother's funeral, Colonel Fenter couldn't stop her. Do you agree?
Hari kidumelana lwen hari etse mohlala Mzinzi Mandela ya seng a iketsebo ya batho ha ile hore o batla ho kena phupung ya mme wa hae ntate Fenter ha ana tokelo ya ho raka mothibela ho jwalo
Ho jwalo ha ona raka mothibela bana o na le tokelo ya hore a kene.
Yes, worship, he cannot do such worship because she has a right to enter.
And similarly, anybody who is expected to make a tribute at the funeral as per the program was entitled to enter and be present. Do you agree with me?
Jwale he, jwalo ka motho e mong le e mong a neng a nka karolo mane phupung o ne a ena le tokelo ya hore a ka kena. Like more programming motho a nang a le mo lenane tsamaisong o ne a ena le tokelo ya hore a ka kena.
Boholo ba taba ko re lenane ke tsa ka la bona ke ntwa pele le batho ba ine ba ile phupung ha ke ba tsebe kaofela ba nna go seng sa lentse ke le mabitli.
I first worship did not see the program. And there are people that I did not know who were attending the funeral. Yes, Worship.
So my approach to the accused.
You may do so.
Thank you, sir. I have no further questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Advocate Julius. Re-examination?
This is the court, Your Worship. Your Worship, I will just ask a short postponement for re-examination, Your Worship, or we can take possibly an early lunch, Your Worship. There's 30 minutes left before 1 o'clock.
Okay, then what time do you want to resume?
Your Worship, if all is in agreement, we can start at 1:30, Your Worship. If you're going to take an early lunch.
Advocate Julius?
I don't see why we must adjourn now. We haven't had a full day. I think the re-examination can be completed by lunchtime. I don't know what can take so long, or why we need to wait till after lunch. Court runs till 1 o'clock.
Then I'll also in adjournment, Your Worship, which I believe I am entitled to, Your Worship. Then we can start maybe at 1:45, Your Worship, or 10 to.
Okay. Court will not prevent you from
Thank you, Your Worship.
allowing an adjournment to reflect on the re-examination. The court will have done the same in regards to the defense in this regard to guarantee each party the right to a fair trial in this regard. Court will adjourn until 1:45. Mr. Mapisa, you still under oath. You are not allowed to discuss your evidence with anyone. Court adjourn.
For lunch.
Good. I have
So I'm going to check it quickly. I'll leave it on. Okay. Not me.
Kubontlele. Kubontlele kgola.
Do the fun attack. I want my tick. I want my tick. I want my tick. I'm sure. Go it like you take when you wake. Yeah. Please.
You're going to need lunch now.
So,
Ndlozi,
you're coming back about
you didn't send me the
like a while ago. And I feel like
Anyway, you've killed the cat. Said they were allowed to eat it. Done. Done.
Tabo, how much are you?
You'll probably go get a lunch.
under
Yeah, but you go to the center. Did you go to the center? Yeah. So the spa's nice and there's a women's as well.
There's a spa and
It's a mission. Yeah, I know. Yeah. It's a little bit easier. No, so I even came early and I sat in traffic for like 20 minutes driving. And they also wanted me to park and I just said no. Sorry, I'm the trainee for the plane. Like as you walk out.
But you know what's
Seriously? Yeah. Oh.
Yeah, but no, I tried to
That's been going on his car. No, just like this with these sandwiches.
in the statement. This is all I can say.
Tabo, can you do me a big favor? I know you're not my secretary, but can I ask you a big favor, please? The Indian restaurant down the road here in the centre. Can I ask you to go place an order? I'll give you money. To go place an order. What would you like? Would you like what, a curry or a?
No, it's nothing from next door.
But there's a Woolies next door.
There's a Woolies next door. I'll do the same for you.
Okay, so you want the dal? Just a dal. Just put the dal.
Dal mustard. Where's your car? Inside. You guys on the same car.
But this closer to the same is it manual? But I don't feel
You're a good driver. It's like as you walk out. You can take my car.
No, I won't find the spot.
Are you gonna go?
you come back.
Are you gonna go
They'll
in?
go together.
And then I'll try the guard there. They must.
Can you buy me an orange? Okay, we can all.
Don't you? That's fine.
No, don't want the curry, not you. Don't get all too much crazy.
But if you want what they did with us with the Angie, you can take a sandwich or something.
They allow it to enter. Yeah.
So in the file you've got, is this door? Is this door?
Wait,
Wait, my file.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Where will I find it?
I don't want to give you the
8.
8-3 and 8.
How many languages can you speak? Which are?
English, Greek, and a little bit of
right now you can speak proper Afrikaans.
broken. And maybe
Kan je mooi Afrikaans praten?
It's okay, no one on phone. But just ask Angelique what you want.
yeah, I could.
Kan je worry? But this is my file.
Yeah, this is your
Same thing now. Protected as just made of money.
yeah. Yeah, I'll just ask.
Or the TV people as well.
This is yours.
That's the thing.
Still being recorded. Still being recorded. Still recording.
You guys want to go now? No, I'll just have chicken mayo.
Do you believe me? No, I can't speak English. I'm kidding. Can you speak Zulu? This is Zulu.
Orange is the dal. So just make sure it's veggie because sometimes they can mix dal with chicken or whatever. Dal and rice. And then yeah, he wants with roti. Yeah.
Remember Malema yesterday, she was the state president of Israel. The Kissinger came up to say, I'm first. American, then on Jew. Then on just then the response was, could you use the other way around?
Let's start there.
Wow. So when you made that mistake, what you
Kulani, you be going.
when she's going to Portugal, she's writing in French.
I think you should go now. Otherwise, won't be ready.
Maybe it goes up.
Yeah.
Because I see you guys are ordering curry.
Yeah.
Yeah, won't be. Last time, don't you remember we went and it came at like 20 to 2. Just tell them to make it.
No, you're right.
Thank you, brother. And whatever you want, obviously. And Angelique, in the tower.
You want to afford it?
What are you going to have, lobster?
What you going to do by house?
All right, we're coming for drinks, huh? And they can bring you on TV to you. Yeah? We're coming for drinks. No. You move to a party. No.
Nick sent me this.
I didn't get it. Where's it on the ILA?
No, he just sent it to me.
Just send it to Lawrence got it as well.
He said, I don't look the message.
I can see. I can see like I can take it off now. So,
Oh, yeah.
But the one he said,
Your Worship.
Ms. Hart, if you are ready to proceed with re-examination, you may then proceed.
Thank you, Your Worship. My learned colleague asked a question to you, sir. He asked, you heard a noise, you saw people pushing each other, and then you answered, sir, I was a bit far, I could not see who was pushing who. Then I came closer. That was your answer.
Monghadi, hona le potso e leng hore ile ya botswa ho wena hore wena o hlalositse hore o lo wa re o bone batho ba kgothumetsa jwale o be o botswa hore na ke mang ana a kgothumetsa wena o be o re ke ne ke le hole ha o le hole ha ke a kgone ho bona hore na ke mang a neng a kgothumetsa mang o fihlela ke atamela.
Okay, my question is, when you came closer then, what did you see?
Jwale ho atameleng ha hao o bone eng?
Ke bone Mr. Malema a pusha Colonel Fenter.
I saw Mr. Malema pushing Colonel Fenter
Le Mr. Ndlozi le yena mo push.
and Mr. Ndlozi pushing him as well.
Okay. My learned colleague also asked the question. The vehicle had a permit and was entitled to enter. You answered, sir, I did not look for a permit. Okay?
Hotwa koloi ine ina li tokelo kapa permit ya ho kena. Wena o bo o araba ore ha ke ka sheba permit. That is correct, so your ship.
Okay. Why? On what basis did you allow this vehicle to the cemetery or to Colonel Fenter? To the gate?
Jwale o dumelletse koloi ena ka mabaka a feng ho fitela ho monghadi Fentere hekeng.
Ka bona bo monghadi ba bohlokwa ka koloi.
It is because I saw 2 VIP gentlemen in the vehicle.
When did you see these 2 gentlemen, sir?
O ba bone nini benghadi bana?
Nakone ke atumela koloi ka lehlakore la mokganni.
When I was approaching the vehicle at the side of the driver.
No further questions, Your Worship.
Thank you, sir. Next case.
Re leboha monghadi.
Inspector, the statement which is in front of the witness to be returned to advocate holders.
Are we done, Worship? Can I go home?
Yes, you can go.
Monghadi. Re leboha ntate.
The original is in front of the court. Mr. Baba, the original doesn't, I think it is a damage statement where he doesn't, I believe he will just see how to fix it at the end of the day. The court will return.
For record purposes, it's acceptable to advocate holders and all the parties, Your Worship. If I can take the photocopy also and just attach it with the original. So in case, because it is a damage statement upon sort of seen, but we can just attach it for record purposes.
Yes.
I have no issue.
I've also noticed the time is now 5 to 1. Is there any more state witnesses for today?
Please, the court, Your Worship. Your Worship, there is 1 witness before court, Sergeant Makobi. The state, after consultation, will no longer be calling Sergeant Makobi. However, there is another witness, General Zulu, Your Worship, which the state intends to call. She is not before court. She is currently sick, Your Worship. I just received a WhatsApp message, Your Worship, with photos of a sick note. It is color on my phone and I can zoom in however, Your Worship. When I printed it to my email and just printed for the court's record, it is the second and the third page is very unclear, Your Worship, but however, when I zoom in, it says left chest pain. Unfortunately, it's on my phone. I can see much better than the court is going to see. The third page as well, Your Worship, where the doctor indicate where she was examined, Your Worship, on the 5th of April 2022, Your Worship. I can also see it much better, Your Worship, than on the copy. Currently, none of the photocopy machines is working in this building, Your Worship, so I could not make a color. Print it out in color, Your Worship, in order to see. I have asked one of the seniors if they can possibly take a better picture, Your Worship, and send it to me. At this point, they have indeed sent it, Your Worship. I can actually see it's a much better copy so that the court can only see the date, which means that she was, according to my knowledge, it was informed that she was unfit to work for the 6th of April up until the 8th of April, Your Worship. Unfortunately, this is the copy when I printed I had, Your Worship. May I hand it up to the court, Your Worship? I have informed my colleague, Your Worship. It is unclear a copy, Your Worship, that was printed, Your Worship.
Yes, but the state still have to answer the question on the way forward of the case.
Your Worship, I am not going to close my case. I'm not closing my case yet, Your Worship. I am intending to call General Zulu. So the state is in actual fact asking a postponement, Your Worship, for this witness, Your Worship. Pleases the court. She will not be able to make it tomorrow, the date that was set, because she is...
Can I also get clarity with regards to the state's witness list? Is that the last witness?
That's going to be the last witness for the state, General Zulu, Your Worship.
So the application brought by the state is for a postponement based on the illness of your last witness,
yes, Your
General
Worship.
Zulu. Thank you. Just before, Advocate, I just want to get clarity also with regards to the last witness which is available.
Sergeant,
the state have indicated that that witness will not be called by the state. Is that witness to be made available to the defense? And is the state also requesting the court not to draw a negative inference from the state not calling such witness?
The state is asking the court not to draw negative inference, Your Worship. That witness is available for my calling the defense. It indeed so, Your Worship.
Thank you then. Advocate Ouders, you may respond.
Thank you, Worship. This matter has been set down for 2 days, Worship. I have expressed instructions to oppose any application to postpone the matter. We're hoping to finalize the matter, Worship. I have a note, Worship, but it's undated. While I was preparing, I had a note that this General Zulu was ill on a previous occasion. I think it could have been COVID related, so I was trying to find that note, because when I was preparing, I had a note somewhere that there's been a previous occasion that she wasn't available to testify. I don't know whether she had attended at court and been released, or whether she was just released. But I have a note of something about her symptoms on a previous occasion. So my instructions are, Your Worship, that this matter has been set down for 2 days now. The matter dates back, Your Worship, a substantial period of time, as Your Worship knows. The accused have been before the court for years now, Your Worship. I have a reference of the dates, and it's quite instructive, Your Worship, to see how long it's been before the court. So, Your Worship, what happened is, firstly, we're dealing with an event that took place on the 14th of April 2018, which is some 4 years ago almost, Your Worship. And we're celebrating our 4th anniversary. The accused have been before this court since the 20th of November 2019. Your Worship, we've had, I counted this morning, 12 previous dates on which this matter had previously been postponed to. I can give them to you, Your Worship. It was the 20th of November 2019 was the first appearance. Then the 10th of March 2020. Then it was set down, Your Worship, for the 23rd and 24th of June 2020. On that date, the accused were excused. The warrant was held over. I think it was COVID complications, so I don't attribute it to my learned friends. We then, Your Worship, were before the court on the 31st of August, 14th of September, and the trial commenced, Your Worship. I have the dates when the actual trial ran and who testified, as Your Worship would know. From 28th October 2020, Your Worship. So going from August, it was postponed on the 31st of August to the 14th of September. Your Worship will see on the record, we were told on 14 September that we'd asked for a video, but it simply doesn't exist. So it makes one think what's happened here. Then we had the 13th of October 2020, 28th of October 2020, Your Worship, when the matter began before Your Worship. We then ran 28th and 29th, Your Worship, and the 9th, that's in October 2020, and we also ran on the 9th and 10th of March 2021. There were then COVID complications, Your Worship, from the defence side, and the matter was adjourned until today, to run today and tomorrow. So we've set aside 2 days for this matter, Your Worship. It's unreasonable now to be held by this General Zulu all the time. I have a specific note, Your Worship, that on a previous occasion she was excused also, and by agreement, because she wasn't well. So there has been a previous occasion. I unfortunately didn't keep a note of the date. So it would seem that every time this matter is set down to run, she's ill and unavailable. So I would respectfully request that this matter not be postponed, Your Worship, and that the state then close their case so that we can make some progress in the matter, Your Worship. And I can say very clearly my intention is to apply for Section 174 discharge of both of the accused, Your Worship. Thank you, Your Worship. I really don't believe it should be postponed further.
Thank you, Advocate. May the court rule, or
May I just reply, Your Worship? Thank you, Your Worship, for the court's indulgence. I do agree with my learned colleague that on a previous occasion, General Zulu was supposed to be at court. A sick note was handed in, Your Worship. She went also for a COVID test because she had an operation, Your Worship. Her sick note was then handed in, and also evidence that she is going to the doctor, Your Worship. Your Worship, my colleague has now given also the history. Myself, at one stage, Your Worship, myself and Mr. Baba, we were in contact with people that had COVID at work.
I do not want to interrupt you, Ms. Hart, as well. I'm well aware of the history of this case. It is before court. But what the court is interested in knowing from both parties is the parties comply with Section 342A of Act 51 of 1977. Has the state received any notice because the 2 accused have pleaded before the court?
Thank you, Your Worship. The state has not received any notice, Your Worship. There is no notice on the record, Your Worship. And I believe, Your Worship, that my requesting for postponement, Your Worship, there is evidence, Your Worship, before the court currently where my witness is, Your Worship. At this stage, there's also no 342BA notice given. Please support.
Advocate Orders, I will also allow you to address the court.
Thank you,
with regards to 342A.
Your Worship, 2 sections govern the situation, 2 sections of the criminal procedure. May I just remove it from our record?
Yes, you may.
So, Your Worship, whilst I concede that there's a need to give notice if one intends to bring an application in terms of Section 342 capital A, that's not the only issue that's to be before this court now, Your Worship. The other section is Section 168, gives this court the discretion to postpone a matter, Your Worship. There are 2 cases that are instrumental in this. The first one, Your Worship, is State versus Geratis, where the Honourable Mr. Justice Vieira said the decision to whether to grant or refuse a postponement must be judicially taken, and it will only be judicially taken. This court has a discretion that must be rational and judicially taken. 2 factors would guide the court in doing so. Firstly, guilty persons should not evade justice because of an oversight. Secondly, an accused person, once indicted, is entitled to be tried with expedition. That was followed also in the decision of State versus Atchison. In the State versus Geratis, it was the Honourable Mr. Justice Vieira. In the pre-constitutional era, then we had State versus Atchison, which also predated the Constitution, where the Honourable Justice Mohammed, who became our Chief Justice, followed that reasoning, and there have been even more recent decisions dealing with it. So if one has regard to the facts as we find them, even if one has regard to the Geratis, which was a murder case, here we're dealing with common assault. Atchison was a murder as well, where the witness wasn't present because the witness wasn't available on that particular day. The court said there were no guarantees that that person will arrive. Now we've had 2 opportunities where the state has sought to bring this General Zulu. On both occasions, Your Worship, and I did find my note, it accords with what my learned friend stated. She went for a COVID test because she was going for some surgery or some procedure. So it doesn't seem that she's got any intention of coming to testify, Your Worship. So we're wasting this afternoon and tomorrow on a witness that seems very reluctant to come. She didn't come last time because of an intended surgery and a COVID test. This time because of a chest pain. I've seen the medical report, Your Worship. There's no real diagnosis there. It's a chest pain. I don't know what the status is. So there comes a point, Your Worship, where the court has to have regard to the constitutional rights of the accused to be tried with expedition. We did not give Section 342A notice, Your Worship, and I'll explain exactly why. When we arrived this morning, we were told for the first time that General Zulu is not coming. We had no prior notification. Similarly, Your Worship, this morning I was told that the other witness would be testifying, and we prepared on it. And she has two statements, I can tell you, A2 and A15, without even opening the docket, Your Worship, because we did prepare. It's only now that we've been told. So we always thought that we're in a situation now that this witness would testify. They testified, followed by the next witness being a sergeant in the police, because General Zulu wasn't available due to illness. Now we're told that they're abandoning that witness and only intend to call General Zulu, as I understand the address, because I haven't heard a commitment on that, and then they'll be closing the case. But there's no guarantee that this General Zulu will ever come, Your Worship. So I respectfully refer, Your Worship, to the decisions of Geratis and the decision of Atchison, and ask Your Worship to have regard to the provisions of Section 168, which gives this court the discretion to grant or refuse a postponement. But in doing so, the court ought to have regard to the factors that are referred to that were formulated by the Honourable Mr. Justice Vieira and followed by our former Chief Justice Mohammed. And I respectfully submit that in this case, Your Worship, there's no guarantee that General Zulu will ever come. Judging from the conduct, and even in this regard, I do attribute negligence at the door of my learned friends, because they had a witness that they've now released without even telling us. We found out when you found out, Your Worship, which I don't think is proper. So it's not that we were priced in there. Then Your Worship asked me, and correctly so, because 342A does require notice, but we weren't in a position, Your Worship. Had we known before, we would have certainly given them notice. But they'll concede that they told us now, when they told Your Worship, that they're not calling the next witness, and I knew this morning for the first time that General Zulu wasn't yet. There was no prior notification. So we've prepared for trial. We've set the dates aside. There's clear prejudice to the accused, Your Worship. Not only the fact that the fees being incurred, and that we weren't previously told that they're not going to be proceeding this afternoon and tomorrow, but additionally, Your Worship, to have a case like this hanging over them whilst they're members of Parliament and in this predicament is embarrassing and unjustifiable, particularly a case of common assault being the charge that we face here. So I respectfully oppose any application and respectfully request Your Worship to consider it on the judicial basis when Your Worship has regard to the discretion that Your Worship now has in this regard. I know that an appeal against this won't succeed, so Your Worship holds a very, very important role in this regard. And I can say, if the state's case is closed, we'll be ready to argue our 174 today or even tomorrow, Your Worship. I don't have a problem. I know Mr. Baba always likes filing heads of argument. Well, that's his practice. We won't even need to. We're ready to address Your Worship immediately. We've worked from our transcript that we had. We didn't have the full transcript, but we have notes where we didn't have the transcript. Mr. Baba has the full transcript, so they would be in a position to argue. And when I say full transcript, until today, not today's proceedings, so we would be ready to argue, Your Worship, if the state's case is closed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. I have stopped you, Ms. Hart. I believe, is there anything else you want to stop? As I've indicated, the record is before court. The court is fully aware concerning each and every postponement, specifically when the court myself have come on record with regards to this matter. So just to be fair, Ms. Hart.
Thank you, Your Worship. Your Worship, my colleague said no intention, this witness has no intention to testify, no guarantee that this witness will testify. Sorry, Your Worship. My learned colleague informed the court, Your Worship, that this witness has no intention to testify, no guarantee that this witness will not testify, Your Worship. Your Worship, there is documentary evidence before the court as to why the witness is not before court for the second time, Your Worship. The first time, documentations were handed up, medical reports, and today as well, Your Worship. So this witness has given the state, Your Worship, the information. So I ask the court humbly, Your Worship, to grant the state a postponement. Please, the court.
Thank you, State. It is correct that according to the charge sheet, and the court at this stage is indicating that the said charge sheet which is before the court is well, the court cannot even say it is a duplicate charge sheet because it is also not confirmed by the clerk of the court that it is, but for the sake of proceeding with the matter, as we have dealt with this issue mainly off record, the court have also agreed that we should proceed, not to delay the matter any further, and I've also directed that the original charge sheet should be found in this regard. But the court is satisfied the copy which has been placed before the court dictates and it depicts the appearances what have transpired previously in this regard. Not to dwell on the issues what have happened since from the 20th of November 2019 up until today. This matter was delayed at certain stages by the defense as well as the state in this regard. Now, the court will only specifically deal with the issue which is currently before the court, and the matter was set down for today as well as for tomorrow for further evidence in this regard. We have then proceeded with the witness today, which is Mr. Mapisa. His evidence have come to a conclusion, and the state is now seeking a postponement based on the extent that there is an unclear medical certificate which is before the court, which confirms that the witness is off sick, and as Mr. Advocate Holders have also confirmed that it will only refer to chest pains in this regard then as well. However, the court do trust that Advocate Holders as well as Ms. Hart is officers by the court. Although there is a copy at this stage being given to the court, that they will not mislead the court if it comes to the sickness of a witness which needs to be before court. With regards then to such, it is to the court that a delay which has been caused in the matter has to be assessed whether there's any prejudice suffered by the accused in this regard, because it will refer to their constitutional right to have a speedy trial in this regard then as well. Judging then from the face value of the charge sheet, and as Advocate Holders have also argued the matter before the court, is that this is a common assault matter and it could have been resolved within a couple of days in this regard then as well, and that it is unheard that it should run for so long as well, from 2019 up until today. This case needs to come to a conclusion. Now, I'm also well aware of the provisions of Section 168, which Advocate Holders have referred, which deals with postponement, but this is not an ordinary postponement. It is a postponement where the accused have pleaded to the said charge, and therefore Section 342A of Act 51 of 1977 is also very well applicable due to the prejudice which one party may suffer in this regard. At one stage, I am well aware of the rights of the accused in this regard concerning the delay which is caused, because if the matter do not proceed as we have planned, then it is a delay which is costing the accused financial distress in this regard, because they need to pay their legal team in this regard. It is also unfortunate that we only found out today about the witness which is not before court, General Zulu, as the state have indicated. The state should have made provisions to inform the court earlier concerning this witness, as well as the defense in this regard, to eliminate further delays in this regard. But the court cannot ignore the provisions of Section 342A that notice must be given, because at one end, as the defense have referred the court to the case law in this regard, as well as to the justices which have also announced on the issue with regards to delays in this regard, there is then also a prejudice which will be suffered in terms of the state's case if the court just nearly grant an application without calling the said witness. There is documentary evidence before the court that the witness is sick, and the court finds that the delay is justifiable in this regard. Therefore, the remand is granted and the state is directed with regards to have the witness before court. A proper subpoena must be served on the said witness, and the court needs to see the said subpoena in this regard. And to eliminate all other delays in this regard, the state must also consider that the provisions of Section 342A will be applicable with regards to any further delays. If there is a delay in this regard, the court will listen to an application that is being brought before the court to deem the state's case closed. State. Also, with regards to such, the original documents of the SIG note must also be submitted on the next appearance. Has the date been, I believe a date has not been arranged. The court will also direct that the soonest available date should be arranged to have the matter to come to conclusion.
Maybe inquire what month your worship is available.
I'm not available next week, so any date will be. The court will I will make myself available. It does not matter which other matters I have in Midrand. I will just make myself available. So the soonest available between the state and the defense.
I'll accommodate you. Should I start the worship? My learned friend has suggested May. I could do Friday the 6th of May.
Sorry, Worship, if I interject, the court has ruled that sufficient time will be given to subpoena the witness. So can we just take that into consideration? To subpoena the witness so that we can then comply with the court order, Your Worship?
6th of May is perfect.
We've got the 5th and the 6th of May, Your Worship?
1 to 5, I can do 6.
Okay, 6th of May, Your Worship is... 6th of May is perfect, Your Worship.
Just one moment.
Thank you.
Can I just have the matter stand down for a short while? I also do not want to create a condition where my colleague is on leave and there's no magistrate in Midrand. So can I just confirm the date for the 6th of May quickly?
May I add a question, Worship? Maybe we give you 2 other alternative dates as well. The 11th or the 12th or the 5th of May.
Your Worship, I have an inquest round, but I'll be replaced. I'll make an arrangement if we do 6, 11, and 12.
6, 11, and 12.
Whichever of the 3 days
One of
available.
those 3 days. One day.
Thank you. Forger.
I'll you for you this time. I'll be ready to argue.
No, I want your head.
No, I'll argue my feet. You want to argue
How do you stick your paste into your downsies?
No, I'm willing to argue my feet. Let's argue my feet.
Wait 1 second. Ian, come here.